a special salad dressing?
It must have meant a lot to him. Which is weird because apparently it came out of an issue of Oprah magazine.
Welcome to episode 50 of Beyond the Bench on the Empty the Bench podcast network. That's Nick Fodera. I'm Nick Morgasen. You're probably wondering where we've been for the last 2 weeks. It's been a very long 2 weeks. I'll get into that in a second. Make sure you follow us on social media, on Twitter at Beyond the Bench 1, Facebook, same thing, Instagram, same thing. And also, make sure you follow us across the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. So, Nick, how have you been?
It's been a weird couple of weeks, and there's been a lot transpiring. And thankfully, we're coming back at just the right time to basically give you the rundown on all the insanity that's happened since we've been away. Now, the reason we've been away was because we both kind of under the weather. But we're back at full strength. We're back. So we're back to give you the lowdown on all the insanity. But first, before we do that, there was one other thing that we felt that we needed to get out of the way. It's a little heavy, but
we'll get to that in a second. But just to let everybody know, yes, I was sick for the past 2 weeks. I was heavily sick. Nick saw me.
Yeah, it wasn't COVID, but he sounded like overnight he'd become a 20-pack a day smoker.
I couldn't talk at one point.
Yeah, that's right. At one point, you were communicating just through the Facebook text. It was like, if this gets any worse, he's going to be using smoke signals.
And also, like on our other show, Empty the Bench, which is our sports show, how rare is it that I give up a show?
Very rare. I can probably count on one hand the amount of shows you've missed over the 5 years we've been podcasting.
I mean,
that being the case, though, I mean, it works. It works better when we're at full strength. Not that we didn't appreciate the people who filled in for us. I mean, special shout out to Johnny and Hank at Game On, also on Empty the Bench Network. Make sure you listen and follow to those shows as well. Yeah, thanks to them for stepping in to fill in for you. But now that you're back, we can have some fun.
Yeah, so this show's going to be very interesting in a lot of ways. I mean, a milestone, episode 50.
Yeah, I can't believe we've done 50 of these damn things.
And there's going to be a lot. There's some heavy, there's some crazy, there's some insane,
insane, absurd, whatever you want to use.
And it's a certain K word person that's been in the news a lot lately.
No, not Chris Kringle.
No.
We're not there yet.
No, it's a little early for the ho-ho-hos. But yeah, so let's just dive right in. So, Nick, you know this about me. I rarely talk about my former employment really much anymore, right?
Specifically, no, you don't.
Because
in a very general sense, yes, sometimes.
But this meant a lot to me when I heard this news come out. So WABC Radio host Bernard Mcguirk passed away at the age of 64, and this happened a couple weeks ago. I was sick. I had no voice. I couldn't really talk about it. He passed away at the age of 64 due to prostate cancer. Just to go back to give a little history, he was the executive producer of the Imus in the Morning program, which was heard for many years, syndicated, and also on WABC. I was even, my time at the beginning, Imus in the Morning was still syndicated on ABC when I was starting as a board up overnight. And then eventually when Imus passed away, they gave the morning show to Bernie and Sid, and they took over the morning show. He was probably one of the nicest people I ever met at the radio station. That's saying a lot, considering the many walks of life I saw go through that place.
That's a good way. That's a good way to put it, especially since the time that you worked at WABC was very much a time of transition. Let's say that's the most mild way I could put what happened.
So,
and granted, I'm only experiencing this secondhand from you. So,
and Bernie was one of the nicest guys. He didn't let being the morning show host or being the executive producer of a big syndicated morning show go to his head. He would talk to everybody and anybody. By the way, probably one of the funniest guys I ever met. I don't know how well you know Imus in the morning from back in the day.
I do. I know a fair bit.
But like him, one of his best impressions was the Cardinal. If I don't know if you know that I think it was Cardinal Dolan. Like he used to do
he used to do an impression of Cardinal Dolan.
Right, and it was one of the and this was a little bit before. This was a little bit before both of our times, but like he was one of the best, and he used to pull the impression out when he did the morning show when I was still there. But probably one of the smartest guys I ever met. He was a book smart radio host, which is very rare in today's time. He was always reading books. He was always looking to gain the knowledge that if he didn't have it, he would go and read about it and be a better person.
Because I mean, think about the average radio show host. I mean, the small on brains and big on mouth, and it really seems like Bernie McGuirk was that he was one of a kind.
Now let me point out something
one of the last of a kind.
Let me point out something as well. Imus was not the easiest person to work with.
Oh no, I've heard that. I've been hearing those kinds of stories for years.
Bernie kept that show together in every way, shape, or form. He was the glue that held that show together. There were a lot of personalities on that show. There was a lot of moving pieces on that show. Also, doing a 3 to 4 hour syndicated show Monday through Friday is not easy, especially in the comedy / political space. He had to keep Imus from losing his mind sometimes. So he had a huge job to do.
And be able to do that on few, more than a few fronts. I mean, I can't imagine that was easy.
And everyone's been telling their stories about Bernie. My stories, because I don't have one. When I was working overnights, I was working 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. shifts, basically Sunday through Thursday into Friday morning. And I used to see Bernie every night because he would come in. Mind you, he was the morning show host from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. doing Bernie and Sid. And I said, well, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, well, I always come in at 10:30 at night or 11 p.m. at night because I don't want to, because he's from Long Island. So he didn't want to deal with the morning traffic, which I thought was interesting. You don't hear that every day. But he had no problem talking to me. We used to have a little daily conversation every night. He didn't care that I was the overnight board op. He treated me as a respectable individual.
And how often did that happen? When you were over there?
I mean, I don't want to take the attention off into another realm, but my point is he didn't care that I was working the overnights. He would talk to me, we would talk, and he asked, oh, you're from Long Island, where are you from, blah, blah, blah. And he actually wanted to know about me, unlike some people. So the man will be missed. I was shocked. He was not in good health over the last 10 to 12 weeks. He had taken a leave of absence the last 10 to 12 weeks.
Probably because of this.
Because he was dealing with his health. And I don't know. It was tough because, again, I thought he was nice and respected. And it's not the radio space, and you've heard me say this many times, is not an easy space to live in.
It's not, much less to make a career in.
It takes years off your life. I hate to say it, but it does. And he's been doing it for probably 30 something years, if I had to take a guess. And unfortunately, from what I heard, like, and I say this with to give people a warning, you need to go get checked if you're dealing with a health situation.
Yeah, they're members of my family. They're a member of my family that had prostate cancer, and he beat it. But it was that's the that's the importance of getting screened early.
You need to get screened. Unfortunately, from what I heard, he didn't get screened early enough, and unfortunately, cancer takes the good and the bad of people.
But he will be missed. He will be missed.
So I rarely talk about my former employment, but I felt like this was a perfect opportunity because this is a guy I actually liked. And I feel like it would have been horrible on my part if I ignored it and didn't say anything about it.
No, you did. Yeah, you did the right thing.
So, rest in peace, Bernie, and
our condolences to his family and his friends and his loved ones.
Yeah. All right. It's tough to transition out of this story, so I tried to.
Yeah, there's no easy way to do that. But we're just gonna plow forward anyway. So
I tried to keep it slow before we got into the jokes of this show, but Selma Blair. Now, have you been? Do you know anything about Dancing with the Stars or what's been going on with Dancing with the Stars?
Yes, I know that Selma Blair a couple of years ago was diagnosed with MS, and MS actually does. I didn't realize that it actually does affect women more than it does men.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting.
Now, apparently, this is the kind of the kind of relapses and then kind of relapses and then you recover and then you relapse and then you recover, depending on the type of MS. Of course, I'm no doctor. Nor do I pretend to be.
There's different levels. There's different levels of MS.
There's different levels and different severity, but I understand the reason why she did it because she spent the past couple of years, because I think she lived.
It was more than a couple of years in bed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But since she went public with her diagnosis, and did she quit acting or not?
I don't know if she quit acting, but
she's not acting as much as she used to.
But basically, she was in Dancing with the Stars. She was doing quite well considering the circumstances, and finally, her body just gave out.
Just said, "Yep, I'm done." And but that's the reason why she joined Dancing with the Stars in the first place, to destigmatize people that have MS, because again, there's this, and I've dealt with it, even though my disability is kind of permanent, and I was born with it. But it's the point of that was always to destigmatize people that have those kinds of disability, because even the most well-meaning people can unintentionally say something to or treat you differently without meaning to. That's what they say about unconscious biases.
I know, and the thing I get frustrated with, and the reason I put this story in, and I was going to put another story in, but I didn't have enough time with all the stories we were going to do. I was going to do another story on how Wendy's unfortunately fired a Down syndrome person.
Yeah, one of their employees that had Down syndrome, but and that's unfortunate because again, people with disabilities of any kind are still discriminated against. I mean, multiple sclerosis is different because technically anybody can contract it, and it's not like it's not like me or somebody who's born with an intellectual disability, or or even a more severe form of physical disability than I have.
Right.
Because it's a spectrum. It's not a fixed point on a map, or a fixed point on a timeline, I should say.
People need to realize that whether you have a disability or not, whether you're a different race or not, or you're a different sexuality or not, it doesn't mean you can treat certain people a different way. Everyone should be treated the same way. It doesn't matter what your situation is. If you're treating someone different because of their physical disability, the way they look, their their sexual choices,
sexual orientation, gender identity,
then you
stuff
need to
like
go.
that.
Then you need to go check yourself at the door because there's something mentally wrong with you.
Essentially, but I think Selma Blair was in a very unique position to do some real good spreading awareness of.
Well, there's a quote from her here. I've been monitored and in touch with my doctor. I had MRIs and the results came back, and it all adds up to I can't go on with the competition. Blair told her partner Sasha Farber during the 5th episode, "I've pushed as far as I could. With a chronic illness, you do have special considerations, and my body has taken a hit. It's way too much for the safety of my bones. There is just intense bone trauma and inflammation."
Yeah, and that's essentially that's part of what multiple sclerosis causes. I mean, it's technically lesions in the brain causing damage. Lesions, not legions. Lesions can heal, but I mean, in this case, I mean, at least she consulted with a doctor. I mean, there's only so much stress the body can take, even when you are quote unquote normal, and I use that term, very, very, very liberally here,
Right.
very,
And
very loosely here.
people just need to stop with the whole stigmatizing of
Yeah, but
stuff.
that's exactly the thing. Even people who don't realize that they're doing it, well, people can do it without realizing they're doing it, or in the guise of trying to help, it comes off as treating people like you're made of glass, or that you're that you're different, that you're being differentiated even when you don't want to be. I mean, that's something that you really, if you have a chronic disability, something that developed late in life, something that you're born with, you realize that this world, and it's something that I learned as I got older, even in a different situation, you realize, and I'm sure she did as well, that this world kind of isn't built for people that have disabilities. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's built to make sure that this stuff is as tough as it can be for those who are not able, let's say.
Now,
You
my
can disagree. Yeah, you can disagree with me if you
no, I'm
want.
not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I was going to say, like you said earlier, like, I have a learning disability. You have a physical disability. I don't know. You know the feeling of a physical disability. I know from a learning disability and dealing with that situation, and just people are judgmental. People don't believe in you or have any faith in you. I've said this many times on here that my 11th grade teacher basically said I wasn't going to graduate college. So,
Which is a
and
pretty fucking shitty thing to say.
and then I showed up on an alumni day with my honors degree and said, "What do you say? What do you say now?" So,
She didn't even recognize you, did she?
no, she did.
What did she say anything?
No, I did the drop the mic.
You just walked away.
I dropped my degree and I said I dropped my paper that it said honors degree on it and said, "What are you going to say now?" Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's my point. My point is, whether it's a learning disability, whether it's a physical disability, people need to shut the fuck up and stop having their own.
And I think stop having their own opinions about things that they literally know nothing about.
If you don't understand, like in my sake, a learning disability, which I've had to explain a million times to people. Well, what's your learning disability? Blah blah. And then when I tell people it's a directional learning disability, and I don't sometimes hear things the first time, and I ask again, like I had teachers get mad at me because I would ask, "Can you repeat something a second or a third time?" Because sometimes I don't hear it, the important parts of the sentence, and they get mad at me and say I'm not repeating it again.
It's a processing. It's
Yeah.
a processing, and they don't. A lot of teachers either, well, they should be equipped to deal with that, but whether it is or not, I mean, this is the same. This is the same kind. These are the same kind of things that Selma Blair was kind of running into, but she was in a position as an actress, as a fairly well known actress and successful, to, like I said before, destigmatize some of this stuff. But again, it's important to know your limitations. your physical limitations, and at a certain point, her body was just saying no mas, no mas.
You know what? And I give her a lot of credit because she could have just said, "I'm not doing the show at all," and she made it.
I'd rather just do a fundraiser or a TV special like those. Yeah.
And the thing is, learning how to dance is hard. Okay, it's not an easy.
Take it from somebody who only knows about rhythm theoretically. I know what rhythm is. I've never had it.
Yeah, and I have 2 left feet. So, but my point is that for her to have MS and to really take this on as a challenge, I'm going to prove you wrong that I can have a physical disability and I'm going to figure it out.
I'm going to do this in heels and with a cane, motherfuckers.
I'm going to do this. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. That's the attitude you got to have. If you're just going to crawl back into a cocoon and let every person's who hates disabilities tell you what to do, you're just going to cry and have a horrible life if you let everybody control you.
It's something that I don't want to speak for every disabled person because every person is different. I mean, I can tell you from my experience that it's a lot of times it's easier said than done, but it's something that you try to keep at least in the back of your mind.
All right, let's move on. Now we're going to get to the ridiculous and the funny parts of this show now. So this story is kind of taking the world by storm. So Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde, ex-nanny, claims Jason laid under her car to prevent her from leaving. Now, this is just one of very few things.
This is a blind item that apparently came out in one of those celebrity I don't know. It wasn't TMZ that got this. I think it was somebody on Twitter. Dumas, was it that or?
Well, this is from Yahoo.
No matter what, where it originated from, the story says that the ex-nanny of Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde, when they were together and they had kids together. So
they do have kids together.
They do have kids together. So the prevailing theory was that Olivia Wilde, that she's into directing now, directed a movie with Harry Styles, fell in love with Harry Styles, and left Jason Sudeikis for Harry Styles. And that apparently caused tension on the unbearable tension within the set of the movie in question, which was Don't Worry, Darling, which is...
Oh, that movie. That movie got a lot of praise, didn't it?
No, actually not. You're thinking of the opposite.
Oh, am I? I heard a lot about that.
A lot of it got slammed.
Oh, but the point is, so they're alleging, like you said, that Olivia Wilde...
that he caught her cheating on an old Apple Watch that was linked to hers, I think. And
oh my God. First of all, and not that I condone cheating in any way whatsoever. If you're going to cheat, don't do it on linked devices.
If of course, you have to understand if this is legitimate, because it could be bullshit. It could be bullshit.
Well, wait a minute.
A lot of the details of the story sound really fucking weird.
This could actually be the TMZ theory where they called up the nanny and said, "We'll pay you, and if you tell us all the dirty details, we'll pay you for it."
Yeah, and you end up getting like 6 figures for it. But also, it was supposedly he got mad because he thinks that she stole or gave Harry Styles a recipe for salad dressing.
This was and that's what I wanted to get to.
That he didn't want her to. It's like that scene in Jingle All the Way.
He's like,
you can eat my cookies.
That's my salad dressing. My salad dressing. You can't have it.
And the fact that he literally was hiding underneath her car, like in the undercarriage, to prevent her from leaving. It's like, all right, some of this sounds true, and others is. I think some of it is at least a little bit tiny bit of bullshit.
So it also says, quote, on the Monday morning of November 9th, I'm assuming this is not from this year?
No, November 9th of last year.
When I came back from a weekend off, Sudeikis was crying a lot, crying and crying. I didn't know what had happened at all. After I got the kids ready, Jason came upstairs and was having some coffee. He was crying in a mess, saying, "She left us. She left us."
Which, I mean, it sucks when you're going through a divorce. I mean, especially if if your significant other leaves you for somebody who is significantly younger.
Well, we still
Well, not
don't know.
significantly
We still
younger.
don't know if that's true.
But then that leads to my next point, because we're probably only getting one side of this story.
Well, it says the nanny recalled one occasion at the couple's LA property when Sudeikis was reportedly so upset after seeing Wilde prepare a salad. Oh, this is what we were talking about. Styles using their special dressing that he went outside
And
and
that's
laid
not
under
code for something. This is actually like salad dressing.
right, and laid under her car so she wouldn't leave. This story is bizarre, and I have one way to describe it.
It is kind of funny though, isn't it? That we're kind of getting one side of the story where he's the put upon, he's the victim and she's the foul temptress. And I'm willing to bet, and I think a lot of the popular the internet is pretty much already predisposed to hate women because of, no matter what they did, because Johnny Depp kind of poisoned that well. But I have to imagine that a lot of this, because we don't know, Jason Sudeikis could have been a shitty husband. And I think a lot of it is people confusing, because people love the show he's on. They love Ted Lasso. I love that show too, by the way. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, you really should.
I haven't seen it.
I really think you would love it, but that's neither here nor there. But I think they're kind of confusing the character of Ted Lasso with Jason Sudeikis, because honestly, I'd like to think that the truth of this is probably somewhere in the middle.
I don't know.
They both made mistakes, and it just, she ended up leaving him, but maybe it's not all one party.
I'm having a problem with this partially because, again, this is a celebrity relationship. When we all know what happens to celebrity relationships,
they tend not to last.
Celebrity relationships don't last. They're rare these days. When you hear big name A and big name B in a relationship, and you're like, well, how long is that going to last before the clock ticks out?
Yeah, it's usually, with 50-year-old Leo DiCaprio and this 24-year-old model and that 24-year-old model.
But when I heard that reportedly there was an argument over salad dressing, I was like, really? Like, that's what we're arguing about here?
I've seen divorce does crazy things to crazy people, and believe me, we'll get to a very big example of that a little later on.
But a special salad dressing?
It must have meant a lot to him. Which is weird, because apparently it came out of an issue of Oprah magazine.
Who cares?
I honestly, I think it's one of those things where, because you know how celebrity gossip works, it's always because you're only ever getting one side of the story.
But still, this is crazy.
Again, but they traffic in the absurd, because you want to get that reaction.
Oh, I just found
that you're gunning for.
I just found the source, BuzzFeed.
Well, BuzzFeed is where the recipe came from?
No, BuzzFeed is where the story came from.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes sense, because BuzzFeed's a bunch of drama and celebrity stories. So it makes total sense.
I've actually visited their office more than once.
But here's what I have to say about the nanny.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
That she would have said that to him?
Well, I could have said that to him too.
I mean, it could have been. Look, I ain't taking this job unless there's a hefty pay increase. It's like hazard pay at this point. I have to work in a war zone.
But between Harry Styles, a special salad dressing, and laying down in a car, you could have a movie right there.
Besides, Harry Styles has already got an internet a legion of screaming internet fans who've already harassed her on Twitter because apparently those fans can't deal with the fact that he's not dating them.
What do you think Harry Styles is thinking that Olivia Wilde might be want to be with him?
He's probably, something I get. He's probably thinking, you know what? I get to have sex with Olivia Wilde, and that's pretty damn good.
I'll go get some watermelon sugar, and we can take that over from here. If anyone didn't know better, I think that was his song, right?
Was it? Oh shit, we're too old, man.
That was the
old to be making these kinds of references.
I'm looking that up quickly. I want to make sure. Yeah, it is. Watermelon Sugar was his song. That's what I was making. I should have checked that reference before I made that joke.
You really should have made sure that one was kosher before you actually said it.
Thank God I was right. All right.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Speaking of BS, let's move on to the BS. Okay, so
you know how I said just a couple of minutes ago that divorce makes people do crazy things?
Yes.
Divorce also makes people go crazy because this has been a couple weeks in the making because Kanye has been he's been making headlines for about a couple weeks now.
A couple of weeks? You're being nice.
The man has gone 100% tar and feather pig fucking crazy.
No, he needs to be in the jack.
Because I'm not talking about a man who has a screw loose. He has a hardware store loose in his brain.
No, he needs to be put in that tied up jacket. He needs to be put in the thing where the four walls where he can't hit his head.
Look, first you have him showing up at events with Candace Owens, getting a White Lives Matter t-shirt on him.
And by the way, Candace Owens is another political fuck who doesn't deserve
because these are all political hacks. They don't argue. They're not arguing in bad faith. They're just the one black friend that every conservative can wheel out and say, "See, I'm not racist. I have a black friend."
By the way, ironically, do you know where Candace Owens works now?
She works at the Daily Wire, doesn't she?
Ding ding, you got it.
Because it's all the same fucking ecosystem, isn't it? If you're not working. You don't work for Glenn Beck anymore. You're either going to Fox News, Newsmax, OANN, or Daily Wire.
God, wait a minute. Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro under the same umbrella? That's a scary situation. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
So we're going to break...
Kanye goes on, or Kanye goes on a podcast.
Or Yee, as he likes to be called.
Yee.
Well, before you go there.
Which you can use to the effect, you can go, he said that?
Well, before we go and break this one down, this is going to take some time. We have 3 separate stories under Kanye West to break down this week.
So we'll go in order.
So this happened first. Kanye West claims George Floyd died from fentanyl, and Floyd's family is considering a lawsuit. Now, there is an update to this since I put this up, that apparently they're getting ready to file a $250 million lawsuit against Kanye.
Which is holy fucking shit kind of money. I mean,
now, I need to ask a question, because I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that you could sue for defamation of a deceased person.
Yes.
You could do that?
Yes, because what is it that you need to prove defamation in this country? Now, there's a difference between defamation and libel. Libel is print, slander is spoken. Now, there is a certain amount of leeway you can give with somebody who's been dead a long time, but considering that
this was a major historical case.
It's a major historical case, and Floyd's only been dead for about 2 years. Murdered, by the way. There's no actual evidence that he died from fentanyl. In fact, I know where he got that conspiracy from because Fox News, and I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson floated that idea somehow.
Well, we all know that Tucker Carlson is the theory floater.
Yeah, so they did the toxicology reports. The man died from having a racist police officer's knee on his neck for about 10 minutes while he was screaming out for his mother in pain, and no one was fucking there. But there,
I asked you this before we started. I thought he had drugs on him, not in him.
That's not really the point, because
No. But I'm just saying he's saying that Kanye was saying that he had died from fentanyl. I'm saying I thought he had it like on him in his pockets.
No, apparently he didn't, because that's not even what the cops were arresting him for.
I thought they were arresting him for what?
Counterfeit $20 bill.
Yeah, right.
Counterfeit $20 bill. So Kanye goes on a podcast and says this shit.
Oh,
definitely, because all you need to prove defamation is to be able to prove that the party in question knew it was false and said it anyway.
So, just for context, West was on the Sunday episode of the Revolt TV show Drink Champs. That was the podcast he was on.
Which this man is he's skidding down the right-wing rabbit hole so many times. He's so far down there. I'm pretty sure he's upside down at this point. I mean, Jesus Christ. I've seen people take divorce as bad, but you tell him he can't have sex with Kim Kardashian anymore, and he does this?
This has nothing to do with the divorce. He's been...
Oh, it absolutely does.
No, he was crazy even when he was married to her.
Again, of course. Again, it's been well documented that it's been well documented that the man suffers from untreated bipolar disorder, and he doesn't get it treated because he doesn't believe in psychiatry and believes that his bipolar disorder actually gives him fucking superpowers.
I mean, the
man's got an ego the size of fucking Cleveland.
The man was so fucked up he thought he was going to run for president. I mean,
which ended up being a right-wing op to try and swing the election towards Trump, because again, the conservative movement in this country has now found a new patsy, and when they are done with Kanye, whatever they want to use him for, they will use him and then lose him. Again, they will abandon him once he's done being. Again, these people are not your fucking friends, Kanye.
They're political props.
At this point, I'm sick and tired of asking that of just saying, "Oh, get help," kind of. But he may just well be beyond that.
What do you mean get help? He needs an insane asylum at this point.
So let's go through what else he did.
So one leads to another. This was bad. And just to finish this one up, George Floyd's family has sued Kanye West. That is the update so far. So I don't know where that's going to go.
They're probably going to end up talking about this later.
They're going to have to prove it, like you said, though. That's got to be...
they're going to have to be able to prove it, but again, it might not be that difficult.
So, part 2 of 3 now. Kanye West makes crazy claims and has been restricted by Twitter and Instagram.
Which, because we couldn't exactly fit it on the banner here, but what he did to get him banned from Twitter and Instagram was go on an anti-Semitic rant that would have made Mel Gibson give him a standing ovation.
Well, there's more than just that. I mean, he doubled down on claims that Kris Jenner, his former mother-in-law, had sex with Drake.
And that his kids were somehow replaced with robots or clones or something.
Well, I didn't see that, but he went on I think he went on another podcast. For some reason, Kanye likes podcasts. I don't know why. I mean, he's giving fame to those podcasts. I'll say that much.
He's definitely giving them a signal boost. But at this point, when you book Kanye West, you know exactly what you're trying to do.
Oh, wow. He said this on Drink Champs also. Wow, he said everything on this podcast.
And he also tweeted out that he was going to go DEFCON 2 on those Jews. Those Jews,
right? Yeah,
the Jews that he thinks control the media, which is, I can't even tell you how old that fucking conspiracy theory is. It stretches back to the fucking Middle Ages.
Well, long story short, basically all these rants and posting the anti-Semitic messages. Basically, Twitter and Instagram finally decided to wake up and say,
yeah, we can't have you doing that, Kanye. I mean, Granted, he kind of let Trump get away with that for a long time, but you know what? Enough is enough. So bye.
So they threw Kanye off of Twitter and Instagram.
And he acts like an indignant child. You can't cancel me. I'm uncancelable.
We'll
I'm
get
a
to that.
genius.
We'll get to that in a second. But there's a quote, and he said, "I put 140 million into JP Morgan, and they treated me like shit. So if JP Morgan Chase is treating me like that, how are they treating the rest of y'all? I'm outraged." Apparently, he had some kind of investment with JP Morgan.
JP Morgan's kind of looking at these headlines and going, "Oh shit!"
Well, he keeps getting canceled by things, so he's turning into Alex Jones.
He's turning into you know what? It's not going to be very long before he ends up buying InfoWars, where Alex Jones gets desperate to sell it because of the big payout he has to do. He sells it, Kanye West buys it, and installs himself as the premier conspiracy theorist in this country.
Well, speaking of buying, the part 3 of this. Kanye West to buy Parler after being restricted from other social media platforms. Now,
for those of you who don't know, Parler was basically the right-wing nutjob conservative answer to Twitter. And this was before Truth Social came out. This is before Gab.
Twitter is considered left-wing. Parler is considered right-wing.
Considered left-wing. It's not really.
That's why I say
Parler is, believe me, Parler was populated almost exclusively by...
Oh, no. Parler is fully right-wing.
By frothing at the mouth, amosexual, conservative.
Well, I can tell you because when I worked for a syndicated radio show, which you know, my host said, I want to be on Parler. So that being the social media manager for that show, I had to get him on Parler. I told him I didn't want him to be. I said, you
don't want, the Nazis are there and you don't want to go where the Nazis are.
I said, I told him and John, I shouldn't have said the name. My point is my host. Sorry. My host.
We can bleep it out.
No, it's okay. My host, I told him, you're not that type of person. You agree with me, right? He's not that.
He was not that kind of person. Granted, I didn't know him well at all. It's just.
Well, you know the type of show he did.
I know. Yes, I know the type of show he did. I had to listen to it while you were taking meetings with us when you were working there. But
he's a nice guy too. That's the. But my point is, I said stay off Parler. It's not worth it. Of course, I lost that argument, so I had to put him on.
Of course, this is before Gab and Getter and Truth Social.
Well,
so everybody, that's the practical joke of him buying Parler, by the way, because that company is owned by Candace Owens' husband.
Well, there was a bunch of people involved.
There's a bunch of people involved, but the principal shareholder, I think, is Candace Owens' husband.
No, actually, I do know this because Dan Bongino had a big investment in Parler.
Oh, that's right. Isn't that the guy whose head is shaped like a Lego?
Pretty much. He has a syndicated show. He used to fill in.
The guy who's really burly and just ends up looking like the guy who ends up on Newsmax.
Well, not Newsmax. He ends up on Fox Sports with Hannity a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because him and Geraldo used to go at it with one another. On Hannity.
Oh God! Let the nut jobs fight. Let them fight. So
Bongino's an idiot. First of all, I don't He used to fill in for Levin because I used to hear it all the time because we were in the same building. But and Bongino made a lot of headlines because he refused to get vaccinated, and then like his show kept getting put on best of because Cumulus had all these rules for vaccination.
So Kanye is going to buy this platform, right?
He did.
He spent, I think, just over $100 million to buy it.
Oh, I didn't see the money amount, but let's see. In a statement on Monday, Parliament Technologies, Parler's parent company, said, quote, pleased to announce that it has entered into an agreement in principle for Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, to acquire the Parler platform.
He said that? Yeesh.
Well, Parler said that.
but again, nobody's on Parler nowadays. They're all on Truth Social.
Well, actually,
What the fuck are you doing?
Parler got canceled, then it came back, then it got canceled again, and then it actually because the app was being run by what was it, like Google platforms and all that stuff that was keeping the app.
And then I think
they delisted it.
Yeah, they stopped hosting it, didn't they?
They basically delisted it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it came back because I keep seeing emails about it and all that stuff. But this is bizarre.
You have to understand something, and this is a common thread throughout all three Kanye stories we had this week. I know I call him crazy, and I say that he's gone crazy, and he has, but I really do. I don't think I should blame this on his mental illness. I mean, because there are plenty of people that have bipolar disorder in this country, and they're not fucking crazy.
Well, did you see what happened when he made an appearance on The Shop?
Yeah, he ended up going on another anti-Semitic rant that they actually
they removed the episode.
They removed the episode entirely
because he went on such a rant that
everybody. And I've seen episodes of The Shop, so they were probably like sitting there like, what?
And as much as I hate LeBron James, I actually think they do a good job on The Shop.
But LeBron, what the fuck are you thinking bringing him there?
You have to remember, it's all about names. It's all about names.
Look, at this point, after everything he's done and the rabbit hole the hole that he has spiraled down into, the drain that he is circling mentally, you know what you're gonna get. I mean, come on.
Listen to this for a second. So Maverick Carter, that's LeBron's
business partner.
Been there since he was a kid. Yesterday, this was a quote. Yesterday we taped an episode of The Shop with Kanye West. Kanye was booked weeks ago, and after talking to Kanye directly the day before we taped, I believed he was capable of a respectful discussion, and he was ready to address all his recent comments. Unfortunately, he used The Shop to reiterate more hate speech and extremely dangerous stereotypes. We have made the decision not to air the episode or any of Kanye's remarks. While The Shop embraces thoughtful discourse and differing opinions, we have zero tolerance for hate speech of any kind and will never allow our channels to be used to promote hate.
Which, for those of you who don't know, it's not a violation of First Amendment anything to do that. I mean, they're a private entity and they can censor any kind of speech that they like.
It's their show. They can do what they want.
Show. And it seems to me, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that the man's gone. The man who became, known for saying that George Bush didn't care about black people has now become a right-wing, conservative, even beyond conservative, conspiracy theory touting nut job. A right-wing conspiracy theory touting nut job because maybe he has a pathological need for attention. I don't know.
No, really?
Paying attention to him, and they are, so he just decided to adopt their views.
He's a rapper. He's in entertainment. He was on a reality show with the Kardashians. No, he didn't want attention.
There's wanting attention and having a pathological, almost sexual need for it.
No, it's a cry for help, if you ask me.
I mean, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that the man can get help.
And by the way,
because I'd like to think that there is at least still a human in there.
Not that I want to blame the Kardashians for this, because it's really not their fault. But anyone who steps inside the sphere of the Kardashians, what happens?
You end up going crazy and or broke.
Or you end up in the wacky shack.
Yeah, or you end up in the wacky shack. And
look what happened to Lamar Odom.
Well, Lamar Odom is a little different because the man was in the crutches of a very bad cocaine addiction, or
he had a sex addiction. He was going to
substance abuse.
Right, but the
really bad substance abuse addiction, and managed to climb out of it.
Right, but Lamar was not like that before he entered.
Having that kind of exposure and having that kind of attention on him probably didn't do him any favors.
He almost died.
Most likely didn't do him any favors.
Lamar almost died. I mean, my point is, this whole world that we call Hollywood or celebrity
It can screw you up mentally if you're not careful.
It could fuck you up, not just screw you up mentally.
It could fuck. Yeah, you're right. It could fuck you up mentally, and it seems like that's what it did to him.
And by the way, guess what other Fox News show he did a 2-part appearance on, who you mentioned earlier?
Tucker Carlson.
Yes. I don't know why everyone goes to Tucker Carlson for interview. Like, he's not the best interviewer. I've watched him. He's really not. And he's one of those guys that laughs at everything he says.
If I say what I really feel about Tucker Carlson, we would not be able to do another show. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
No, I'm just making the comical joke, which is that, like, you notice that he laughs at himself, which is kind of weird. Like, yeah. I hate people when they make a joke and then they laugh at their own joke. I never understood that, to be honest, but...
Oh, God.
But, wow, we made it through the Kanye nonsense. Hooray!
Who would have thought?
All right. Moving on from the Kanye nonsense. We haven't talked about this person in a while. Nicki Minaj. So, the reason I brought this story up was because you know my hate for award shows.
Yes. You've made that abundantly clear.
And do you know why I hate award shows?
Because they're phony exercises and masturbatory self-congratulation.
Okay, well, I wasn't going to go there. That could be right in some.
It is, but it is. It's masturbation of the ego, isn't it?
Right. Yes, but the other reason is political bullcrap. That's the other reason I don't like award shows.
I mean, I get most of the people complaining about politics are basically just complaining that they want their politics represented on stage, and not politics they disagree with.
No, but I'm tired of these celebrities going up on stage and making like a political rant when they win an award. They use their time to talk politics. And I'm like, why do you think people are not tuning in to watch the award shows? They don't want to hear about your politics, bozos. Accept your award and get off the damn stage.
You know what? Nicki Minaj was that the reason why the song was kicked out of the rap category?
No, I'm still trying to figure that out as I'm reading excuse me, the story. So it says Nicki Minaj's Super Freaky Girl is spending its 8th week on top of the Billboard Hot Rap Songs chart. But at the Grammys, the song will compete in the pop category. Now, that should have been a red flag to you when they did that right away.
Look, I mean, the Grammys to me are pretty much as meaningless. I mean, I think it's right next to World's Greatest Dad when it comes to, meaningless awards.
But I don't understand it. It's stupid. So, big deal. You took her song out of the rap category. But now it's become news because she is, by the way, she's probably one of the most followed people on social media. So she's got
her own subset of rabid crazy fans.
I forgot what they call them, but
Barbs.
You're right.
Barb?
Wow.
Yeah,
you actually knew one before I did. That's impressive.
Because I thought it was like barbed wire, that's
Bayhives is Madonna.
No, that's Beyonce.
Or Beyonce, excuse me. Oh my God, Beyonce. You're right.
Madonna. I don't know if Madonna has rabid, fans of screaming stans or just harassing people on social media.
And then you have Katy Cats for Katy Perry, and then you have Beliebers for Justin Bieber.
Swifties. And then you have Harry Styles fans.
Oh, and then you have the BTS army, which we didn't even have time to get to that they're basically going on.
I know about the Kiss army, so that is the BTS army is really not the weirdest thing in the world to me, because there was the Kiss army back in the 1970s. There were Jerry's kids. There was people who followed Styx around the country.
What's interesting though is she came out with a comment saying, "I have no problem being moved out of the rap category as long as we're all being treated fairly. If Super Freaky Girl has to be moved out of rap, then so does Big Energy," which is another song that was competing in one of the categories.
Because I guarantee you, if she loses this award to, I'm not gonna. In fact, I walk that back. I'm not gonna guarantee it, but if she loses in that category to Lizzo or Megan Thee Stallion or anybody fucking else, there's gonna be some shit started.
But the thing is, Nicki Minaj has like 100 million followers on Twitter. She's got her own radio show thing on that AMP app that everyone's using now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. I actually looked it up. That's an Amazon product where you can literally,
it is.
you can actually host your own music show.
I still don't know how the fuck it works, but
it's essentially radio on an app. Essentially, think of it that way. You just get
like Pandora.
Yeah, right. But you would just say, Alexa, listen to such and such show, and it should show up. So, but I think you have to be signed up or whatever. I don't know, but she shouldn't care. She's made so much money. Her career is already set. You really think she's going to give a shit if she loses an award over one song? I don't. I just don't like award shows because they're.
You know what? I think she will, because the fact that she's raising a stink about this now.
Well, she's not raising a stink. They just made a story out of it.
It's going to be a storyline. I guarantee you, there's going to be at least somebody raising a stink about it.
Oh, I didn't see this. Minaj criticized the decision on social media in an Instagram video post and a series of tweets. Quote, "They stay moving the goalposts when it comes to me. Why is the goalpost only ever moved when it's Nicki?" All right, can I say one thing? Can we stop with the goalposts comment, regardless of whatever we're talking about? I'm getting so tired of that.
Oh, God.
Can you explain to me the whole, like, where that whole expanding the
moving the goalposts?
Yeah, where that started.
You need me to explain what it means, or how?
I know what it is. I'm just saying. Can you explain to me, like, where that? I'm assuming it started in the whole political bullshit.
No, it started in football.
No,
moving the goalposts back. And
no.
Field goal.
I'm talking about in today's climate, where they started using that phrase.
Because there's again, that's more of a social media thing. Because again, if there's anything that social media is kind of good for, it's taking something that was in, well, more likely than not, African American vernacular English,
right? But they started
woke or like moving the, or word or dime store words from the DSM, like toxic or well, shit. I mean, everybody with a Twitter account seems to be like a dime store psychologist. People on because people on TikTok diagnosing mental illness. That's definitely what you want to hear.
Oh, God.
I would love to see a 15-year-old tell me what the fuck is wrong with me.
Yeah. Okay.
Somebody who doesn't know shit about shit, but that's neither here nor there.
What I can surmise is that the whole phrase "moving the goalposts" really became a thing in politics when Trump was president.
Yeah, I'd say so, because it's like you're constantly changing the standards by what is acceptable.
Because he always
there's something that happened a lot. It's when that happened when Trump was president.
Well, they moved the goalposts on me, and that's why I couldn't do things. That's what he used to say. I was like, shut up.
It's just very unfair. It's just I'm the most unfairly treated president in history.
Yeah, get in line with every other president.
Yes. You and Andrew Jackson are just being treated so unfairly, even though one of them has been dead for almost 200 years.
Jesus. All right, let's move on. 2 more stories. We're doing pretty good on time today. Let's talk about SNL. We haven't talked about SNL on this show very much.
I haven't had to. It was usually in reference to Alec Baldwin, but this is kind of weird. So Rob Schneider, I think, was this an interview he did, or did he write a book?
So Rob Schneider was actually on the Jim and Sam show on Sirius XM on Faction Talk, and he basically said Bill Murray absolutely hated us, which is the quote on here, at SNL, and really hated Adam Sandler and Chris Farley. I mean, seething. Now, let me preface this. I've never been an SNL fan, ever.
I wax and wane, because there are eras of the show that I like.
This one sucks.
And there are eras of the show that I don't like.
The show hasn't been...
There are a couple funny sketches here or there, but it's not really,
It hasn't
not the cutting edge of comedy anymore.
It hasn't been a complete show in over 10 years.
More than 10 years, I'd say. But Bill Murray, so they said that he was just seething at people when he hosted at SNL, and for some reason he just hated Adam Sandler and Chris Farley.
Who can hate Chris Farley? He was one of the funniest guys on that.
Who hates Adam Sandler? Everybody I know. Everybody, I've always heard stories of Adam Sandler as one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He's just a wonderful human being.
You know what was amazing? He used to go out and play basketball with common. Do you remember this? Like he would go to courts like across, and he would just go join a pickup team
and just play basketball.
And it was like,
again, that's always been his reputation as a really, really nice guy. Bill Murray, however, I feel like you remember a couple of years ago, about a decade ago, where Bill Murray kind of started to become an internet folk hero because stories would pass that he would all of a sudden show up at somebody's bar mitzvah, just a random thing, or he would end up crashing weddings, or
so the celebrity PR nonsense.
Not even PR. He would just show up without even. It's like, I walked into. I was tending bar, and then Bill Murray walked in and bought drinks for all of us. Or Bill Murray just ended up at my wedding somehow.
Just so you know, whenever you hear a story about a celebrity crashing a wedding, I don't believe that for a second.
No, honestly, I think Bill just did that because, again, he has that kind of reputation as really one eccentric motherfucker. The problem is he's also well known for being a verbally abusive asshole on set. I mean,
and politically incorrect.
Lucy Liu talked about it. In fact, the entire cast of Charlie's Angels talked about it.
Well, wait a minute. He was also very politically incorrect.
He's also very politically incorrect and very, very mean and very.
Here's the problem.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. He was mean. He was nasty. He was nasty to people who didn't deserve it.
Here's the problem. Bill Murray came from an era where being politically incorrect and saying whatever you felt like and disrespecting women or disrespecting people, you could get away with it. Now you can't.
I think he got away with it, though. But you agree with me that was his reputation. That
yes,
he was an asshole to a lot of people.
He's still an asshole now.
But I feel like back then, when his legend first started to spread on social media, I think people were willing to look the other way with this stuff because he was Bill Murray. Because everybody loved Bill Murray because they loved him on SNL or Groundhog Day or Ghostbusters or what have you.
I mean, like I said, SNL hasn't been funny for even what you said, 10, 15, 20 years.
But whether they are funny or not, I mean, it really does seem like Bill Murray's reputation is kind of, people are starting to kind of turn on Bill Murray and his antics, let's say.
But the problem is, I would have to care about Bill Murray to really care about his controversies.
You're not a fan of his movies, huh?
I mean, it's not even that. I just when's the last time we paid attention to Bill Murray at all?
Zombieland, and that was a little over 10 years ago.
That's my point. When they're not doing something legitimate or what they could be doing, that I could care less. And Rob Schneider, I don't know what he's really doing now. He's pretty much
he's fashioned himself into a free speech telling right-wing comedian because he's thrown in with Adam Carolla and Ben Shapiro.
Oh God. And that's every comedian.
But that's neither here nor there because, at least with Tim Allen, he kind of keeps his mouth shut.
Well, Tim Allen's a whole different
story, but again,
we didn't even have time to get to that.
We didn't even have time to get to that either.
Because Tim Allen's by the way, I'm out on everything Tim Allen after all the shit he's pulled.
I mean, it's not like he. Let me travel back in time to 1994 when people gave a shit.
Well, when he did Home Improvement.
And he did Toy Story, but again.
But he got one song from Toy Story.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Didn't they replace him?
He did, but he didn't.
I thought they replaced him. Fine. You're right.
They didn't even replace him. If you're talking about the stuff with Chris Evans, because Chris Evans was playing a different character.
I thought he was replaced. That's what
No, he was not replaced.
Well, they didn't ask him back to play his normal character.
Because they're not making any more Toy Story movies.
Or no, not the Toy Story. Maybe it was the Santa Claus movies or whatever.
That's not even true because Disney Plus is doing a Santa Claus miniseries with him in it.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I thought it was
If he tells you he's canceled, he absolutely is not.
not canceled. I didn't mean that. I thought they just replaced it.
But if he says he's canceled, he absolutely is not.
No, he's just
He's still regularly getting work.
Well, he's just being politically ignorant at times. Well,
he's just playing the martyr.
You know what's dangerous?
You know what? He's straddled the line with I'm speaking my mind, but I also don't want to piss off people because I like money.
Well, the dangerous part again is the amount of followers. He's got a lot of followers, so that's the dangerous part of being a celebrity and having a lot of followers.
Bill Murray, however, I think that I don't know. I think it's just people are starting to turn on his reputation. That's just me though.
Bill Murray, I just looked him up. He's not even on Twitter. So
no, he's not.
Can you imagine if he was on Twitter?
Oh God. All of a sudden you're having a fight with somebody and then all of a sudden Bill Murray chimes in? Jesus, I don't even want to know. All right. On.
Final story, and I saved this one for last because it's hilarious. James Corden. So James Corden banned, well, let me update this. He was banned from a New York City restaurant for being most abusive to staff, then unbanned for apologizing profusely.
Okay. So for those so context is necessary for me.
There's a lot to break down here.
Yeah, context is necessary if I may quote myself from another show. But the restaurant that he was banned from, just in case you didn't know, is Balthazar.
Balthazar. Yeah.
Of the fancy schmancy French restaurants that are in New York City, of which there are many, this is probably one of the schmanciest.
And just to make note, and I have to look for the name because I can't find his name at the moment. This guy owns a bunch of restaurants. Who owns Balthazar?
His name is. Let me just check.
Keith McNally. Keith McNally,
yes.
Because he wrote a long Instagram post.
And he, like you said, he owns a bunch of.
He's a restaurateur. Let's put it that way.
But yeah, he writes this huge Instagram post a couple days ago saying that James Corden, who you might know as the English dude who does the Late Show for CBS,
not anymore after this year.
Or he announced not long ago about a decision to leave, and he's doing carpool karaoke, which is what he's known for. So the Keith McNally puts out this extra long Instagram post where James Corden, he said that James Corden was the worst customer he ever had. He was rude and abusive to the servers and the waitresses at his restaurants. And he said, I'm not serving him in any restaurant of mine that he goes to.
Well, I think the only one he went to of that he owns was Balthazar, I think. It was
Balthazar, yeah.
And what makes this bizarre is apparently he got a hair in his food and he lost his mind.
He says he got a hair in his food, or he didn't like the way he didn't like how slow the waitress is.
Well, no, the one I heard was the hair. That's the one I heard. And
I heard that, and I also heard that he had asked for 2 rounds of drinks to be comped because he didn't like the way
because of the hair. Because he got a hair in his food, he's like, I want this round of drinks for free, and blah 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 blah.
And he'd be yelling and screaming at the wait staff. It's like, you don't know how to do your job. You're terrible. And so
there's an update as well, though. So
that prompted everybody else who works in retail around the area.
Oh my God!
To say James Corden did the exact same thing to me when I was working in the Gap, or he showed up in, or if he popped into a Starbucks or something. So there's a common thread here. But
so after all that happened, Keith McNally reached out, went on Instagram again, and said, James Corden just called me and apologized profusely, having fucked up myself more than most people by struggling to believe in second chances. McNally wrote an Instagram post Anyone magnanimous enough to apologize to a deadbeat layabout like me and my staff doesn't deserve to be banned from anywhere, especially Balthazar. He added, so come back to the five and dime, Jimmy Corton, all is forgiven. This guy's
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
This guy's a little bit of an asshole too.
It's a little bit of an asshole too, but you know what? I get the feeling that James Corden's PR team was like, "You gotta go fucking apologize." I guarantee you, they pretty much made him do that because
they have the original post that McNally wrote saying calling Corden a tiny cretin of a man and quote the most abusive customer to my Balthazar service since the restaurant opened 25 years ago.
Which, I mean, for a high-end restaurant in New York City, believe me, you're gonna get a fair share of assholes.
So the direct quote was, McNally stated that Corden replied, get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all our drinks so far. This way I write any nasty reviews in Yelp or anything like that. By the way,
fucking dick.
Who uses Yelp anymore?
Apparently he thinks that people take Yelp reviews seriously, and it's not just rantings of a Karen who got mad because they kicked her out because she called the waitress a racial slur.
But listen to this. So the owner mentioned another incident in October when Corden and his wife were allegedly there for brunch. By the way, who eats brunch anymore?
A lot of people, a lot of rich pricks eat brunch.
So he's quoted McNally saying, Mr. Corden's wife, and this is kind of weird, Mr. Corden's wife ordered an egg yolk omelet with Gruyere cheese and salad. A few minutes after they received the food, James called their server, MK, and told her there was a little bit of egg white mixed with the egg yolk.
Oh no, egg white. Oh no.
MK informed the floor manager. The kitchen remade the dish, but unfortunately sent it with home fries instead of salad. That's when James Corden began yelling like crazy to the server. You can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself.
Which, if you could do that, asshole, you wouldn't be at Balthazar, would you?
MK was very apologetic and brought G, the kitchen manager, over to the table. He returned the dish, and after that, everything was fine. This is bizarre.
Honestly, I guarantee you, James Corden's PR team is like, you can't let that. You have to apologize, even if you don't mean it, because again, James Corden seems to strike a lot of people as the guy who apologizes without meaning it, or is famous enough that he believes that he's entitled.
You know what this makes me think of?
To talk to waitresses like that.
You know what this makes me think of? He knows he's going off air. He's not doing the show anymore. Maybe he was looking to build attention for himself.
Maybe he was looking to just, rebuild that reputation before he just goes back to whatever it is he does before that. But I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, please treat your wait staffs and people in the service industry with respect.
Also, make sure
I really do. I can't tell you how many times I've been to restaurants and I've seen waitresses, waiters, cooks, and busboys just get absolutely shit on by the worst people you can imagine.
By the way, make sure you tip your waiter or waitress, please.
Yeah, tip them, please, and don't tip them into one of those fake $100 bills that actually opens up and says, "Just kidding, believe in Jesus."
Oh God! And
those?
If you don't, yes, I have. Also, if you don't tip them, they might spit in your food.
But even then, be a good person so they don't feel the need to spit in your food.
And by the way,
these guys are just trying to get by.
I just wanted to
like everybody else.
Finish off with one more quote as well. McNally separately told Page Six he was, quote, reluctant to publicize the situation, but, quote, did so out of loyalty to restaurant servers everywhere.
I mean, you know what? I think it really did need to be said because honestly, the fact that people can just treat wait staff like this and just expect to get away with it, that's just not cool. Not cool.
I don't understand it. I mean, you're a late night show host.
Can you think of times that you've been rude to waitresses, waiters, or busboys, or
for good reason or on purpose?
Have you seen people do that on purpose?
Oh, I've seen it all the time. They're just assholes. I thought you were talking about me. Like I've had instances where
Have you ever yelled at somebody, like really screamed at them because you
No.
got the order wrong?
no, I mean, here's what I'll say: if they get it wrong 3 times in a row after I've sent it back, then I might get a little angry, but I'm not going to yell.
Exactly, and you know what? You shouldn't yell. I mean, they're fucking people. They're fucking people. You idiot.
I'll tell you a quick story, and I know because we got to end the episode, that I went to I think it was a Fridays. I went with some friends after we went to Jones Beach. And for most people who don't know that, that's Long Island, by the way.
Yeah.
And we went to the Fridays. I went with 3 or 4 of my friends. We had a really terrible experience. And you wouldn't think of that in a chain establishment, that you could have a very horrible experience.
I mean, your first mistake was going to Fridays at the first place.
Well, it was close.
Yeah, it was
close. So we sit there and, like, I have food allergies. So we order the nachos because it's big. We can split a platter, whatever. And I asked them nicely to take some of the stuff out because whatever. Because sometimes, in certain places in nachos, they put a bunch of extra stuff in it,
like guacamole and sour cream.
Yeah, like all that stuff. And I didn't want the jalapenos because my stomach, I can't do it. Like the ones that are not where the seeds are not pulled out.
Yeah. So
I asked them nicely just to remove.
Because the heat comes from the seeds.
Right. So, excuse me. I asked them nicely to remove it, and they said, "Nah, okay, no problem." And then it comes out with everything on it. And I'm like, so I call the guy over, and this was our first mistake. The waiter was being an obnoxious dickhead, and I knew this was going to be bad. So I said, I have allergies. And they're like, oh, well, the chef only makes it one way. I'm like, huh? And I'll try to speed this up. And then one of my friends orders a drink.
Yeah.
And my friend says that he almost got blown away by the drink.
What, it's too strong?
Yes. Like not like just a little too strong. Like, he said it
on
tasted
a scale of 1 to 10, like a 20.
It tasted like alcohol,
like rubbing alcohol.
Yes. So, and then we try to fix that asshole. Then we all order burgers and all that stuff. And I said, I want it medium. Okay. So mine comes out pink, and a bunch of the others come out pink. And I said, this isn't medium. Oh well, we only do
medium well or well done?
No. What's the one before medium?
Rare.
So
medium rare.
We only do rare or well. That's what they told me.
Which is weird because I've been to Fridays before, and it might have been the location. It might have been the cook on a bad day.
And I just said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I said, "So you're going to either kill somebody or you're going to char a burger."
Honestly, you know what? Honestly,
and I was not in a good mood, like, because they were screwing up everything. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to take a deep breath. I'm not going to pull a James Corden. And I talked to the manager. Did not help either. So, like, everything was just like, if I wanted to be James Corden at that point, I could have, but I just did not.
Exactly. So you know what? If there is a lesson to be taken from all this, it's
sometimes you have to bite the bullet.
Sometimes you have to bite the bullet, and please be nice to your servers.
And tip them. Tip them, please.
Tip them well, and it costs you nothing to be nice to people. So be nice.
What's that dumb saying? You should always have a smile on your face.
Well, you don't always have to have a smile on your face, but don't be a dickhole.
I mean, or what's that dumb saying? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
And that's what James Corden is.
It costs you nothing to not be a dick. So don't be a dick.
But
all right, so
that just about does it.
That is going to do it for this episode of Beyond the Bench.
Make sure you follow us on social media, on Twitter at Beyond the Bench 1, Facebook, same thing, Instagram, same thing. Make sure you follow us across all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Network for the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. 50 episodes in the book, Nick.
50 episodes in the book, and we are just ecstatic that we've been able to get this far. And really, we can't wait to be with you for the next 500. So just make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and to ring the bell to get the notification.
Hit the big red subscribe button below the video.
We've got a whole bunch of content coming. We've got a whole bunch of content coming as we go towards the end of the year. But for right now, we're done with episode 50. So for my venerable co-host,
before we go, we could promote one thing since it's now been put out in the open. You and I and Tom Lovano will be doing on Halloween night. We are going to be live. We're going to be live doing a live watch along. Live stream
Monday Night Football, Bengals and Browns.
Yeah, so make sure if you want to come by and see Nick eat a 10-pound bag of candy.
2-pound bag of candy, but who's counting?
Oh, you like candy? Come on now.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I'm not that big of a pig.
Kit Kats all the way. or
and Twix.
Oh, I like Twix too. Hey, you and I have the same candy taste. Okay, that works. Yeah. But for now, that's been episode 50. For Nick Fodera, I'm Nick Morgasen. It's been a long and crazy episode, so I think it's time to let everybody go back to their lives. So I guess we'll see you for episode 51 next week.
Yep. Good night, everybody. See you back on the bench.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.